Welcome back to Sister Wives Twist, the location where the true stories reside, the ones too raw, too perilous, for the network to ever present to you. Look at this photo. For years, she was merely a shadow at the fringes of the Brown family's universe, barely seen, silent, observing. Her name is Mindy Jessup, Robyn Brown's niece, the family's nanny. But she was more than a nanny. She was the inside girl, the only one who witnessed the times when the cameras were stowed away, when the crew packed up to go home, and the masks disappeared. She witnessed the secrets, the uncensored talks, the reality behind the veil. And now, in the so-called civil trial of the century, Brown v. Brown, Mindy testified. And when she did, the polished image the Browns had spent over a decade peddling to the world didn't just crack, it imploded. What you're about to hear is a story pieced together from our exclusive sources inside that courtroom. A story of how the nanny's testimony blew the lid off years of manipulation and deceit. But first, because if Christine, Janelle, and Mary are owed anything, it is having their truth finally told. If you are sick of the gaslighting, the excuses, and the hypocrisy, then let's send a message. Like this video until it turns blue. Subscribe to Sister Wives Twist. Turn on that notification bell because you won't want to miss part 2 of this bombshell. All right, you're here, you're ready. Let's go inside the courtroom. This wasn't some petty family fight. This was a reckoning, a financial war. Christine and Janelle Brown filed suit, accusing Kody and Robyn of siphoning money from the family's shared business, Family Traditions LLC, into private ventures and personal accounts, all while telling the other wives the family was broke, the money was gone, the well had run dry. We saw it unfold on television. Janelle pleading for money to construct on Coyote Pass, Christine scrounging what she could to fund her move to Utah, both of them clipping every coupon while being informed there was no more. And yet, within Robyn's 5-bedroom, 2-acre empire, things appeared otherwise. For the trial's first few days, the courtroom crawled. Records of money, accountants gesturing toward transfers, and missing money. Then Kody on the witness stand, blustering, theatrical, spinning himself as a tragic hero, talking about sacrifice, about heartbreak, about betrayal, saying every dollar was for the family's future, though somehow that future always ended up at Robyn's doorstep. Then it was Robyn's turn. It was an Oscar-worthy performance. According to our sources, the tears came before a question had even been posed, tissue held tight, her voice shaking. She presented herself as the faithful wife who only desired peace, who never desired drama, who had no knowledge of the money. She even, purportedly, whispered to the jury, "I just wanted to live in a trailer." But the jury wasn't having it. Not with her designer shirt, not with her impeccably groomed appearance. Christine and Janelle's attorney, Anna Sharma, was merciless. She spread out the receipts. Literally, extravagant shopping binges, pricey jewelry, Victoria's Secret bags, each one dismantled Robyn's denials of guilt. Nevertheless, the defense attempted to spin it, painting Robyn as yet another woman manipulated by Kody. And then, 5 words flipped everything. The prosecution calls Mindy Jessup. A palpable wave of fear washed over Robyn and Kody, his face clenched, her crying suddenly tangible. Because they knew what Mindy knew. She approached the stand in a simple gray suit, hair in a ponytail. No drama, just steady resolve. She would not look at Robyn or Kody. She sat, took the oath, and the courtroom fell silent. The question started, basic, securing her in believability. Please give your full name. Mindy Alice Jessup. And you are the relative of the defendant Robyn Brown. She is my aunt, my mother's sister. And you are also the half-sister of Robyn's 3 oldest children. Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, on account of your father. Yes. Yes. That is right. And were you ever a Kody and Robyn Brown employee? Yes. I was their nanny. I assisted with homeschooling and with the household. When did this employment start and finish? It was on and off for years, but relentlessly from late 2019 until the midpoint of 2022. And with that, the courtroom leaned forward. Everyone knew this was just the beginning. From late 2019 through mid-2022, Mindy wasn't dropping by occasionally. She was there, 5, sometimes 6 days a week, 8 to 10 hours at a stretch. She wasn't on the outside looking in. She was in their world, living in the rhythm of that home. And because of that, she noticed everything. The cameras never recorded, the Robyn hiding behind the tears. With the foundation laid, lawyer Anna Sharma pierced the heart of the lie, the money. How were you compensated for your services? Direct deposit into my bank account, Mindy replied. And your pay? The defense objected. Objection, irrelevant. But the judge would not have it. The question remained. Mindy's reply thundered. It was generous, around $80,000 a year. $80,000 for a nanny. Sharma didn't drop it. And these payments? Where did they originate? From a company known as K&FAR Holdings, LLC. Not Kody, not Robyn, a business account. An LLC. And so the whole financial farce started to collapse. Because while Janelle was being assured there was not enough money to construct a humble dwelling on Coyote Pass, while Christine was frantically trying to pay for relocation to Utah, funds were slipping into a secret business account undetected, and Mindy had witnessed it. Not always were they careful, she testified. I'd catch mail sitting out, bank statements sitting on the desk, big balances, transfers from the family's general account, the one Janelle oversaw, into K&FAR Holdings, and deposits from TLC, from my sister-wife's closet. The room went quiet. Sharma continued. So when you were getting $80,000 a year from K&FAR Holdings, what did Kody and Robyn say about the family's money? Mindy didn't hesitate. I'd hear them after phone calls with Janelle or Christine. Kody would be angry. He'd complain Janelle was always hounding him for money for the RV, that Christine was irresponsible for wanting to move. He'd say things like, they're bleeding us dry. The family pot is empty. But Mindy knew better. She'd seen K&FAR Holdings, and it wasn't empty. And Robyn? Sharma asked. Always, Mindy replied. She'd placate him, but actually, she was acquiescing. She'd tell him, I know, sweetie. They don't understand the big picture. We need to safeguard the assets for the little ones. We need to be the responsible ones. She referred to it as their nest egg. Not the family's nest egg. Theirs, imagine it, Janelle. In an RV on a desolate patch of land, scrapping out whatever she could. Christine, working to start a new life in Utah. And in the meantime, Kody and Robyn were directing family funds into a private nest egg, compensating their nanny more than some wives saw in their entire lives. It wasn't mere dishonesty. It was betrayal, cold, calculated, callous. But the cash? That was just the start. Because, as bad as the financial betrayal was, it was impersonal. Figures on a piece of paper, what followed cut deeper. This was about intent, about the soft, calculated dismantling of a family. And with her next questions, Anna Sharma was prepared to bring down the last disguise Robyn had left behind. The portrayal of the nice peace, warranting wife who only desired harmony. For Mindy had witnessed the reality. Robyn was no innocent bystander. She had been standing right there with Kody, masterminding it all. Yes, Mindy insisted. Did you ever hear Kody and Robyn talking with each other about the other wives, namely Janelle and Christine? All the time, she replied. And this wasn't idle chatter. As Mindy described it, these weren't discussions of mundane irritations. These were strategy sessions planning, coordinating, deciding how to restrict access, how to sever connection, how to strengthen Kody's grip. Kody banged his pen down on the table, his attorney's hand reaching out to catch him. Objection, speculation. The judge insisted on details. So, Mindy provided details. She recalled the autumn of 2020. Christine had been pleading for Kody to come visit their daughter, Isabel, before she got her scoliosis surgery. He was not returning her calls. Mindy was in the kitchen doing dishes, and Kody and Robyn were only a room away. They didn't realize she could hear. Kody was pacing, ranting, he said. She is not the head of this family. I am. She doesn't get to dictate my schedule. She is not being obedient. And Robyn leaned forward and said to him, I know, honey. It is manipulation. She is using Isabel's pain to control you. You can't give in if you do. They'll all think they can summon you whenever they want. The courtroom came to a standstill. Robyn said Christine was taking her daughter's surgery as manipulation. Sharama asked again, her tone cutting. Yes, Mindy said, and then Kody said, You're right, it is a power play. Robyn put her hand on his chest, looked up at him and whispered, You have to make them know your time is valuable, that it must be earned. You must be with the kids who respect you, with the wife who respects you. And Kody, he melted. You're the only one who understands the burden of my crown. The burden of his crown. It was narcissism on another level. Kody, the self-proclaimed king, Robyn, his queen, stroking his ego, feeding his victim complex, cementing herself as his only loyal subject. This wasn't the behavior of a supportive wife. This was Lady Macbeth in the living room. But it wasn't just Christine. Janelle was a target too. Whenever she complained about money or objected to Coyote Pass plans, Kody would return home angry. She thinks she is the CFO of this family, but she is just an employee, and Robyn. She used concern like a club. I worry about her, Kody. She is too independent. It is unhealthy for the family. Perhaps she needs to have less independence. Perhaps you can curb the finances so that she has to ask you for things. It will remind her that you are the father. Robyn called it solidarity, but the result was domination. Financial suffocation, less time spent with Janelle, less respect. It was love masquerading as manipulation. When Sharama finally announced, No further questions, the courtroom air vibrated with revelation. Now, it was the defense's turn. Mr. Croft stood, the oily attorney with the sharp tie and condescending grin. His assignment, to present Mindy as nothing more than an axe-wielding jealous niece with an agenda. Good afternoon, Miss Jessup, he started. Quite a tale you spun, a work of fiction if I ever heard one. Objection sustained. He was warned, so Croft changed direction. You are Robyn Brown's niece, aren't you? Yes? And here you are testifying against your own aunt, the woman who provided you with a place to stay, who provided you with employment, a very highly paying job. Doesn't sound very thankful, does it? Mindy's response was straightforward. I'm here to tell the truth. Croft sneered. The truth, or your version of it? Isn't it true your job ended in a bad way, that you were socializing with Christine Brown? The woman who, by then, had declared war on the family. I've always gotten along with Christine, Mindy said calmly. She is my aunt, too. Croft leaped into this. So you confess divided loyalties. You are in favor of Christine. You've been spotted with her in Utah. You're in support of her leaving. So you're prejudiced. You're here to assist her in winning this suit, aren't you? An upset former employee with a vendetta? But Mindy didn't bat an eye. No, I came here because I saw Christine and Janelle made less than. I saw their kids dismissed while Kody and Robyn created this ideal little bubble for themselves, paid for by everyone else's money. It was wrong, and I couldn't be quiet anymore. Croft inched closer, searching for fissures. These discussions you say you hear. You were usually in another room, right? Doing chores? Mindy nodded. Yes, but their house has an open floor plan. You can hear everything. Croft smirked. So you were eavesdropping while you were on the clock. The tension hung heavy. The defense was attempting to distort her truth into betrayal, but the jury had heard her words. They had witnessed the glint in her eye, and once something has been said, it can't be unheard. Mindy Jessup sat on the stand in a quiet strength. She'd been there, working, listening, seeing the voices rang through the house, never quiet, particularly Kody's. She recalled the tears of Misha, the phrases seared into her mind, burden of my crown, words so bitter, they never dimmed. The lawyer began to pressure her. Years later, you remember every word, sounds like it is rehearsed, perhaps fabricated with Christine's attorneys. But Mindy did not flinch. You don't forget something like that, not when you see a daughter break apart in suffering and listen to her father and stepmother write it off as manipulation. Cruelty sears itself into your memory. You don't forget, Mr. Croft. The lawyer attempted once more, drawing pictures of misunderstanding, of hushed-up conversations torn from their context. A husband and wife letting off steam. But Mindy's tone remained firm. Was it venting when they created a shell company to conceal family funds? Was it venting when they schemed to use money as a tool to drive Janelle into submission? No circumstances could ever justify what I witnessed and heard. And then the charge, the money, $80,000 a year. Ms. Jessup, blood money. If you found it so objectionable, why accept it? Why not leave? The courtroom fell silent. Mindy's eyes dropped for an instant, then rose again, her voice cracking with honesty. Because I was afraid, and because I cared about those children, Dayton, Aurora, Brianna, Solomon, Ariella, for so long, I was one of their only portals to the outside world, to the rest of the family. I remained for them. Yes, I had bills to pay, but accepting a paycheck does not mean that I co-signed the deceit. I'm not signing off on them anymore, Mr. Croft. Silence. Then, no further questions, Your Honor. And so, the court was adjourned, but the harm was already done. The reserve nanny had just presented a testimony that tore apart Kody and Robyn's alibi. She revealed financial dishonesty with scathing accuracy. She disclosed manipulation so calculated it turned their whole story of victimhood into something sinister. Rather than discredit her, the cross-examination made Mindy look more credible, more robust. The jury departed with one vision seared into their brains: Kody and Robyn in their large house, tallying the cash they stole from their own blood relatives, scheming how to consolidate their hold on the very women who constructed the empire at their feet. As the room cleared, Christine and Janelle approached Mindy. No words, just a hug. Three women, weeping silently among themselves. It was more than consolation, it was validation. A truth now revealed, but though shattering, that moment wasn't the culmination. It was only the groundwork, because the following day would pile so high a mound of hypocrisy, it would topple all Kody and Robyn had constructed. The courtroom took a deep breath. Lawyer Anna Sharma for Christine, and Janelle stood poised to rip off the veil from the darkest, most contentious chapter of all, Kody's notorious COVID protocols. The regulations that broke his family, the regulations that happened live before millions on television, were on the verge of being exposed for what they truly were. And when Mindy talked about what went on behind that door, who was really welcome, and the falsehood spoken not only to the family, but to the cameras, it would leave everyone dumbstruck, for this wasn't merely about money anymore. It was about life, about love, about betrayal on the most intimate level. And this was only just the beginning. There was a list stuck to the fridge, A series of rules so rigid, so oppressive, there was no room for latitude. No one was allowed to exit the home unless absolutely necessary. All grocery items cleaned down. Mail left on the porch for hours before you could even touch it. Clothes removed the instant you came inside. No visitors, no vacations, and if anyone ever broke so much as one rule, Kody would never enter their house. They weren't invited into Robyn's house either. The rules seemed straightforward, not to be negotiated. Mindy Jessup recalled it quite clearly. Yes, she testified on the stand, her voice firm but burdened. It was a big source of contention. Kody was on that phone all day, yelling at Janelle for her boys Garrison and Gabriel, blaming Christine, not taking it seriously enough. He even wouldn't attend his daughter Isabel's surgery in New Jersey because of the so-called travel rule. Months went by without him getting to see his other kids. His reason they weren't being safe. But then came the question that sliced through the courtroom air like a knife. Miss Jessup, at that very same period of time, when Kody wouldn't see his own children, did he and Robyn receive visitors in their house? Mindy took a deep breath, as if preparing herself. Yes. The room changed. The quiet became more oppressive. And who were these visitors? Her response: Robyn's family, her mom and dad, her sister Terillis, and her husband, their children, other relatives, Utah friends, who came through. So Janelle's boys, Gabriel and Garrison, were shut out. Robyn's family, on the other hand, was invited in, and they weren't masked, they weren't separated, they hugged, they ate together, they played. Within those four walls, the pandemic may as well not have happened. Even Kody participated, laughing, eating, hugging Robyn's mother, playing with her sister's children, and still on film, the picture of Prudence, wiping down the groceries, lecturing on the deadly risk of a single thoughtless visit. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. Asked about it, Mindy remembered hearing Robyn calm him down. Honey, my family are careful people. We know where they've been. It is not the same as Janelle's boys. We can trust our people. It is a closed circle. A closed circle, the truth revealed. The rule had never been no visitors. It had been no visitors except for Robyn's favorites, and suddenly it all made sense. This was never about a virus, never about safety. It was a test of loyalty, a method Kody and Robyn used to sever connections to the rest of the family, to erode until only their bond remained. The brutality wasn't incidental. It was the purpose. The defense made an attempt to regain. Mr. Croft pressured Mindy, stating she couldn't possibly know what Robyn's family did to prepare to come out and see her. But Mindy held her ground. She knew Robyn's sister had a job that interacted with the public. She knew her parents had been in an RV. They weren't staying inside. It was public knowledge. And she reminded the court. Kody insisted that Garrison leave his job and Gabriel end things with his girlfriend, just to have the right to his company. But he required nothing of Robyn's family. By the time Mindy sat down, the damage was done. Within the courtroom, you could sense it, the turning point. The jury, previously merely interested, now regarded Kody and Robyn with outright disdain. Mindy's testimony was not about spreadsheets or legalities. It was about motive, malice. It portrayed Kody and Robyn not as careful parents, but as designers of isolation, betrayal, and deception. The defense flailed. They called in a financial planner, attempted to package the whole thing as mere estate planning. They even thought about recalling Robyn to the stand, but her attorney was smarter. Mindy's words had cut too deep. By closing arguments, Kody and Robyn's case was in shambles. Mr. Croft attempted first, writ it off as simply bitter divorce. Janelle and Christine, he suggested, were simply scorned women out for vengeance. He minimized the money. He minimized the devastation. He attempted to normalize that which was anything but normal. Then Miss Sharma stood to address the court, and from that moment, it wasn't a trial anymore. It was a reckoning. She started at the start with the money. Years, she addressed the jury. My clients, Janelle and Christine Brown, invested their hearts, their souls, and every penny they made into a shared vision, a vision of family, of home, of future. They worked. They forged a life together. They raised kids, scraped together every dollar, put their own dreams on the back burner, constantly being told the same heartbreaking lyrics. The family was broken, and what they dreamed of would have to wait. But while Janelle and Christine bore the weight of that, Kody and Robyn Brown were living in their own reality. Behind closed doors, they had developed a secret slush fund, an LLC quietly diverting family dollars into their own personal stash. They paid a nanny far more than Janelle could hope to pay in a year, and yet still, Janelle was informed she couldn't afford to construct a house. When the lawyer talked, her words held more than information. They held grief, because this wasn't about pilfered cash. Cash can be regained. What can't be fixed are the wounds that remain behind. The emotional destruction, the years of gaslighting, the deliberate cruelty done to a family that could only ever want to remain intact. We saw testimony raw. Heartbreaking testimony about how Kody and Robyn schemed to exclude the other wives, how they wrote off a child's traumatic surgery as mere manipulation, how they tutored each other on employing money, control, and fear to maintain their grip. And then the last blow. At a moment when the world was already on its knees from a worldwide crisis, when loved ones everywhere held on for dear life, Kody and Robyn used that moment against each other. They manipulated health precautions as a reason to drive Kody's own kids out of his life. This was not protection, it was preference. It was the final act of destroying the family, solidifying their monogamous relationship, financed by the very women they were casting aside. Christine and Janelle weren't present to plead for sympathy. They demanded justice. Justice for the money stolen, justice for the mental anguish they suffered, justice for the deliberate sabotage of their family. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. 4 hours for a case as complicated. It was nearly unprecedented, but it did us one thing they weren't holding out. Testimony had already sealed the fate of Kody and Robyn. When judgment was rendered, the courtroom waited in bated breath. Kody drummed his fingers anxiously, cursing under his breath. Robyn clutched a rosary, eyes shut tight. Opposite them, Christine and Janelle sat rock steady, clasping their hands in front of them, preparing for the moment that would make it all. The forewoman submitted the verdict. The judge read in silence, his expression blank, giving nothing away, until at last he spoke. For breach of fiduciary duty in favor of the plaintiffs, on financial misconduct and unjust enrichment for the plaintiffs, on intentional infliction of emotional distress for the plaintiffs, all counts. Christine and Janelle had won everything. And then, of course, there were the damages. The monetary award was enormous, millions, more than enough to compel the sale of Robyn's house and the raw land at Coyote Pass. But the real headline wasn't the money. It was the emotional damages. The jury's written verdict was unequivocal. The insider testimony of Mindy Jessup had established a deliberate pattern of cruelty, manipulation, and deception. Her voice revealed how Kody and Robyn used even a pandemic against their own children. And in that instant, the court affirmed Christine and Janelle's years of silent suffering. Their agony was finally acknowledged. Chaos erupted. Kody exploded in anger, shouting about betrayal until security forced him out. Robyn was left in tears, inconsolable. Meanwhile, Christine and Janelle embraced their attorney, embraced Mindy, the woman who had risked everything to speak the truth. Outside the courthouse, there was no grand speech, just Janelle's quiet words. Today, the truth came out. We're ready to move on. This ruling didn't simply redistribute wealth. It shattered the Brown family's illusion. Kody, the former patriarch, was revealed to be a con man. Robyn, always the victim, as his accomplice in deception, and at the center of it all was one woman, the nanny, who would not remain quiet. Mindy Jessup did not merely testify. She freed the truth. She offered Christine and Janelle not merely freedom from the purse strings, but something much greater: affirmation. The myth has fallen apart. The chateau will probably come tumbling down. Coyote Pass will be cut up and sold. The Brown family we thought we knew is no more. And from the ashes of that wreckage, Christine and Janelle emerge, not shattered, but redeemed, free, and more powerful than ever. This is the conclusion no one was ready for, yet the one that feels somehow perfect.